Okay, hi everyone, let's get underway. Welcome to our all hands meeting. We have these every Friday. This one looks a bit different than normal. It's like a glimpse into our future when there are a lot more of us. And we're all much older, obviously. Anyway, we thought we'd model today on a school parents' evening. So in a minute, we'll be giving out the report cards for your children. You get 5 minutes with our team leader while they try and remember which one your child is, and then a cup of coffee. Just kidding. What we'd actually like to do is tell you and show you what it is we actually do at PortSwigger. So if you're anything like my parents, you have a fairly superficial understanding of what it is that your children actually do at work. Something to do with computers is about as deep as it normally goes. So what we'd like to do today is show you what it actually is that your amazing children do at this amazing company. I'm not going to do all the talking. I've asked quite a lot of our Swiggers to speak up, and everyone's going to tell us very briefly about one thing that we do. We'll start with Burp Pro. So this is where our story began. I first wrote it back in 2003. It's come a long way. Today, it is the leading software used by web security testers everywhere. And more importantly, it has a team now of proper software developers who are looking after it. And Raji's going to tell us some more.
This year, we're focusing on improving the user experience of our product. A good example of this is how we're helping users get started. Did I go too fast? As you can see, that's the start page for one of our tools called the Intruder. It's quite confusing. We don't know where to start from or what to do next. Now, we've introduced a new start page which has tips and links to documentation. And also the new start page is a lot easier to understand and use.
Thanks, Raji. Now, Johnny's going to give us an example of another nice Burp Pro improvement we've made recently.
Yes, hi guys. I've always wanted to say this in all hands. Hi, Mum. So a problem we have with Burp is that, or one of many problems we have, is that many users complain that it's slow and that it freezes, but sometimes it's not necessarily our fault. We allow users to install extensions, and often they install too many, a bit like having too many apps open on your phone. So we introduced a feature to allow users to see if their extensions are slowing Burp down. Hopefully they'll uninstall a few and we'll get fewer complaints.
Thanks, Johnny. So that was Burp Pro. Our other main software product we make is called Burp Enterprise Edition. This was born 4 years ago in 2018. It's used by companies everywhere who need to scan their websites for vulnerabilities or who are creating secure websites. And Mary's going to show us where Enterprise Edition is up to today.
Hi, everybody. So, Enterprise provides integrations with external systems, including several issue tracking applications. These are typically used by software teams to manage their website development. So a customer can connect Enterprise with these issue tracking systems so that when a scan of their website finds security issues, it automatically reports these in the external system. This means software teams will have the information to fix the problem in their own systems as soon as it is detected.
Thanks, Mary. We're constantly improving all our products, and Chris is going to give us an example of how we've been improving Enterprise Edition.
Hello. So this was the page that was shown when a scan completes. It shows a breakdown of the vulnerabilities that were found for that particular site, along with other data such as the URLs that were scanned. The problem was that information was lacking in certain areas, and certain information was hard to digest, such as the bar charts that are using stacked values. So we redesigned the page to make data a lot more visual and a lot more accessible. And we also introduced a severity trend so that users can see the results of the current scan versus previous runs so that they can be sure that they're making their websites more secure.
Thanks, Chris. Now, inside both editions of Burp Suite is Burp Scanner. This does the incredibly difficult job of automatically finding security vulnerabilities in websites. And this is one of the hardest problems we work on. Fortunately, we have a team of incredibly clever people who are working on it, and Tom is going to tell us what they've been up to recently.
Yep, so unfortunately, the better websites look, the harder they are to crawl. So back in the day, a page would have links, and those links would take you to new pages. Parsing these links and figuring out where they go is easy, but nowadays clicking anything on a page could cause anything to change. So we now use a browser to crawl websites exactly as a user would, asking it what's clickable and what's changed, rather than trying to figure it out ourselves. So this theoretically means any website usable by a human is crawlable by us.
Thanks, Tom. When you're making software to solve exceptionally hard problems, it's very easy for things to go wrong. Alex is going to explain how we approach that challenge.
Well, so yeah, this is the worrying view quite a few of our customers had. A lot of red and not much information. It's like with most things at PortSwigger, we turn to data. So the bad news was about 1 in 5 scans were failing, but the somewhat good news was that 3/4 of that were down to user error. So they're quite easy problems to solve as opposed to the deep, hard technical problems. So we had a lot of sessions to try and think of good solutions, and this is one of them that we've implemented about including in-page remediation advice for any failures.
Thanks, Alex. Lots of software companies make great software. Not many of them constantly push the boundaries of what is even possible in their space. And James is going to explain how we do exactly that.
Sometimes a malicious hacker group discovers an entire new attack technique. And this is really scary because nobody else even knows this technique exists. So even experts don't know how to defend against it. So on the research team, we try and find these techniques first before the bad guys do. And then we share the full details through presentations and white papers so that everyone understands these attacks and knows how to defend against them. After we warned companies about this particular technique, some of them voluntarily gave us over $100,000 to say thanks. And PortSwigger then matched this and donated $200,000 to the International Red Cross to support Ukraine.
Thanks, James. You can now tell your friends that you've met the best web security vulnerability researcher in the world. Now, it's actually fairly easy to make a rubbish vulnerability scanner, and it's fairly hard for a non-specialist to know whether any given scanner is any good. Some of our competitors like to pretend that their products are as good as ours by saying essentially, yeah, you've got a vulnerability scanner, so have we, which is a bit like saying two cars are equivalent because they both have an engine. So we need a way of proving to people that our engine is better than anyone else's, and Matt's going to tell us how we go about doing that.
Thanks, Steph. So we have a problem. At the core of both of our products is the world's best vulnerability scanner. But this is a really abstract concept to show. So what we needed was a benchmark. So our Academy team built one. Now this is called a deliberately vulnerable web app. And what we want people to do is to scan it just to see how good our scanner is. So what we're doing is showing it off all over social media to get them to do that. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Now, it's a crowded marketplace, and when we build amazing things, we need to work hard to be heard, and Emma is going to tell us how we approach that.
So maximizing the value that our audience gets from PortSwigger is always the aim, but as you've probably seen, we're often working with some pretty heavily technical stuff. So we have to really carefully craft a message that strikes a really core balance between this really heavy technical message and allowing our audience to understand what the heck it is we've even done or what we're talking about. And we need to keep our technical street cred because we're pretty proud of that. 2 years ago, on our LinkedIn platform, we had 2,000 followers, thereabouts. We've now got 62,000, so I think we're going some way towards generating a clear message. If you want to find out more, follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. Now, as customers dig a bit deeper into learning about our products and using them, we often need to explain how to use them. And Andre is going to tell us how we're improving that whole area.
So the original documentation for Burp Suite essentially looked something like this. It listed all of the buttons and settings with a heavy focus on how all of these affected the tools themselves rather than what the benefit or point was for users. This obviously has its place, but isn't especially helpful for new users. So we've gradually been adding more task-based content, which is focused on teaching people how they can achieve specific goals using our tools, which obviously helps new users get started and helps existing users get the maximum value out of the powerful features that the guys there develop. Thanks.
And I wrote all that old documentation, so thanks for sorting it all out, Andre. Next up, Josh is going to tell us how we make our websites let users find the information they want.
So our documentation pages used to be really quite texty and it didn't have much contextual wayfinding at all. And it was a classic case of information overload and it wasn't obvious where to go next. So if our documentation isn't clear, then our users aren't going to see the value in our products, which isn't what we want. So we introduced the tree nav. It helps point them in the right direction, and the tree also helps offset our carbon emissions, which is always good. We're also currently in the process of tree navifying the pages for the Web Security Academy, and as I'm sure you'll all agree, it's absolutely tremendous.
Thanks, Josh. One of the other key things the website does is to let customers pay us, and Mo is going to tell us more about that.
Thanks, Duff. Hi, everyone. So on our website, to pay for Burp Suite certified exam, our customers can use different payment methods like credit card or PayPal. And for faster checkout, we recently added a new biometric payment feature to allow our customers to complete payment through Google Pay or Apple Pay with a tap or glance. Thank you.
Thanks, Mo. We've talked lots so far about our software, but this isn't all we do by any means. Our mission is to enable the world to secure the web. And to do that, the world doesn't just need great software, it needs information and learning about web security. One way we deliver that is through our Web Security Academy, and David's going to tell us more about that.
Hiya. So there's quite a demand for web security testers, but it's quite difficult to get into the field. Learning about web security by trying to hack into real live websites isn't easy and sometimes not very legal. So we decided to create the Web Security Academy, which teaches people practical web security skills using realistic hackable websites that people can try hack for free. We also have a certification that people can use to show their hacking prowess to potential employers.
Thanks, David. This education platform is completely free, and millions of people have used it to learn about web security and practice their skills. What's also free is our daily news service called the Daily Swig, appropriately, and Jess is going to tell us more about that.
So you might remember the WannaCry ransomware attack in 2017, which shut down services within the NHS and other organisations worldwide. Earlier this month was the 5th anniversary of the incident, and we interviewed British researcher Marcus Hutchins, who foiled the attack.
He spoke to us for an exclusive feature looking back on what he did to stop the ransomware from spreading and how the threat landscape has changed since.
Thanks, Jess. So we're creating all these amazing products and services, and if customers are going to get the maximum benefit from using them, they sometimes need to come to us for help, and Mish is going to tell us how we go about that.
Hi, we work with customers, roping in the developers when needed via our online forum, email and Twitter. And we create online videos to support the documentation. We support everyone equally, whichever product they're using and whether they're happy or sad. For people starting out with Burp Suite Enterprise, we go on calls to demo features and understand their challenges. And once everyone's got started, we'll still be there to help.
Thanks, Mish. Over time, we've become more and more convinced that the experience our customers have when they deal with us is fundamental to them getting value and ultimately to us being successful. And Joe is going to tell us about our work in that area.
Hi. So there's many different points at which customers may interact with us. So we've mapped these journeys out so we can identify frustrations and frictions that customers are experiencing along the way, whilst trying to gain a clearer understanding of the needs that they have at each stage of their journey. We're working to remove as many of these frictions as possible and improve the guidance that we give them and the overall experience that we give to our customers.
Thanks, Joe. And Hannah is going to tell us about some of the conversations we have with our customers.
Hello, parents. So the Growth Tribe are the eyes and the ears of our prospects and customers, and that's through us having proactive conversations to understand their needs and ensure they're experiencing value with our products. We assist prospects who have complex procurement processes, and we're constantly on the lookout for feedback that contributes towards the continual improvements to our customers' experience. So above are just some of the fantastic companies we work with, including one that just got added today with a pretty big order, so we're quite happy.
Thanks, Anna. Now, for us to be able to do this great work, looking after our customers, providing great services, we need our own systems that run our business to be high quality, working well, able to scale as we grow. And Ibs is going to tell us what we're doing here.
Hello, everyone. Our site has to deal with some pretty heavy loads, and usually it can cope with that just fine. Sometimes, though, it can get a little bit too much, and the site has to take a little bit of a rest. So we're trimming down some of the fat, and we're adding more instances so that as soon as one of these instances of the site starts to feel a bit too much pressure, we can bring in some more, and they can alleviate some of the load. Now, this should help us improve our overall uptime, reducing our downtime, and improve our site reliability. We're hoping to get these changes in very soon.
Thanks, Ibs. Now, I realise at this point you might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the things that we do at PortSwigger. But to me, the most striking thing isn't actually the wonderful things we do. It's just how amazing PortSwigger people are. And this is no accident. Hiring people into our team is one of the most important things that we do. And we collectively invest a huge amount of effort into finding people who are right for us. Here are some stats from our hiring process over a period of a few months. So this shows the number of candidates we speak to through the different interview stages, through to people who join us. And it's quite striking just how selective we are. For every role with us, we look for A-team players, whether it's software engineers, writers, UI designers, chefs, people who speak to customers. Everyone at PortSwigger is really good at what they do. But just as important as that are a whole bunch of other attributes that we look for which apply to everyone. So our people are nice to others, they're humble, they're good communicators, they're conscientious, they can do, they're energetic. We call this the Swig factor. We turn away lots of people who would be highly capable in their area of expertise because they fall short in these areas. And we do believe the way our people behave and work together is a superpower. And our culture is something that we obsess about. And Becky's going to tell us about one way we do that.
So I want to tell you about the amazing job that our team leaders do. At PortSwigger, we think about leadership in a slightly different way. So our leaders don't tell, they don't direct. They're here as a supporting function in many ways. They're here to enable their team's success. They solve problems. They allow everyone in their team to fulfill their potential. And when the team does their amazing things that they do, they deflect the praise onto their team where it's deserved. Now, this is a really difficult role. And it's one that they fully embrace, and they continually try and raise the bar in everything they do. And once a year, we take the opportunity to gather feedback for them and see how they're doing. Now, the results you're seeing here were the results from our survey last year. And with an average score of 8.8 across every attribute in which we asked people for their feedback, which shows you the depth and the consistency of their leadership skills. Now, these results are off the scale. There are so few leadership teams within the UK who can boast this level of success. And we're really proud of everything our team leaders do to deliver on these elements of our culture to everybody who work with us.
Thanks, Becky. Now, it's no secret that women are hugely underrepresented in the technology industry, which is a great shame. They're missing out on really rewarding work, and we're missing out on all the value they could bring to us. Lots of companies talk about diversity. Sundus is going to tell us what we're actually doing to rectify the situation.
Hi, everyone. This year, PortSwigger successfully launched its first Women in Tech Scholarship Scheme. The scholarship is aimed at encouraging young female students to pursue a career in technology and help us bridge the gap of gender disparity in the world of tech right now. This scholarship includes extensive opportunities for paid work, a tailored personal development program, generous financial support throughout the uni, and the potential for a permanent position after graduation. We are really excited and looking forward to providing more opportunities for students in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Sundus. I hope you noticed our office is pretty incredible. Our ambition is to provide the best workplace experience in the Northwest. And as with everything we do, we also aim to be a force for good in the world. And John is going to describe one way we're approaching that.
Hi. So in the kitchen, we promote sustainability with local suppliers, infrequent deliveries using electric vehicles. We work with a local farm shop, Lamb and Shed, to source seasonal produce when it's at its best. Just recently, this is Jack showing one of the next stages in our journey, and he's foraging for things for us. So we've had nettles for risottos, wild garlic for soups, edible flowers for garnishes. The whole concept of this one man and his basket approach is to reduce our carbon footprint and the amount of packaging going into landfill. Thank you.
Thanks, John. We love data at PortSwigger, and Anthony loves data more than anyone else. And he's got a question for you.
So, as is the old data theme, I'm going to have a miniature quiz for you guys. I'm going to ask just one question. It's going to be a show of hands for the answers. Our question is up on the screen, which is, for each PortSwigger employee, how many Burp users do we have? So I just want you to raise your hands if you think it's A. Raise hands? No, no one. B. Got someone over there. We've got C. Cool, got a few on C. And how about D? Cool, so if you've got your hand up for D, keep it up, because unfortunately you're wrong. The answer is actually C. So for each of your children, there are 710 users, which is pretty bloody impressive.
Thanks, Anthony. Now, we are normally rather understated when it comes to talking about our success, but while we're on the subject of numbers, there are a few others that are worth sharing. We sell our software to 16,000 organizations in 170 countries. We've grown at over 25% every year for more than a decade. There are 100 of us, and we all work out of this one office. We're obviously very happy to be so successful commercially, and Frankie's going to tell us about one way we all share the benefits of that.
So one of the many, many benefits that we get here at PortSwigger is that we are all granted share options. Now, these aren't given just to the top dogs, and that's simply because here we are all the top dogs. So Swiggers are granted these after being here a year and every year thereafter. This gives us all the choice to become a shareholder and get a piece of the PortSwigger pie, and also receive dividends. So what better way to show that we are all genuinely really valued as part of the company?
Thanks, Frankie. Now we're almost done. We've heard about all the amazing things that your children are doing, solving hard problems, delighting customers, enabling the world to secure the web, building a healthy culture, being successful. Now, for me, all of this leads to one thing, which is that we have fun. I started working on Burp purely for fun, and that motivation hasn't changed. I think we can genuinely say that PortSwigger is a fun place to be. I hope you've also had fun here today, more than at a school parents' evening. Before we wrap up, does anyone have any questions? So the question was, what's the origin of the company name? A long time ago, when I started learning how to be a security tester, this was before it was regarded as a legitimate pursuit. And I was, it was my job. I was working for a big reputable company, but they didn't really want to be associated with this activity because the wider world didn't recognize it as a good thing to do. Also, this was before there were any decent resources, any books, any blogs, any way you could go to really learn from others how to do it. So you had to half figure it out for yourself and half ask questions to the community. So this was before things like Twitter, that you were on bulletin boards and mailing lists where you would post questions. And generally they said it's a bad idea to post under your real name because you don't really want to be outed as one of them. Now, so you needed a handle, and everyone had a hacking handle. And when I started hacking, it was before the days of the modern web. So we were testing infrastructure, networks, firewalls, that sort of thing. And a lot of the tools had the word port in the name, things like port scanner. So it was a bit of a silly pun. Port is also a drink, and Swigger means drinker, and it sounded a bit like port scanner. So in about 30 seconds of consideration, I adopted that as my handle and used it when I asked questions. And then when I started to write the software, I didn't want to out myself as the author either. So it was initially released anonymously under that handle. And then eventually it turned into a real business. Now, there are numerous points in our history where we could, and there's another similarly silly reason why Burp has got a silly name. There are various points in our journey where we could have decided now's the time to grow up and get a more sensible name. But it always felt like we've accumulated quite a lot of brand awareness and goodwill towards this name, so let's stick with it a bit longer. And that's still the case today. And a few years ago, we did actually ask some brand consultants if these silly names were the right choice for us. And they went and we paid them a lot of money, and they did a lot of recon and work, and they came back and said, actually, they're working really well, because if you look across our competitors, they have names that are all about the same, with like sys and sec and names with things like that in there. It was saying, well, you stand out. A big list of vendors, it's like PortSwigger and it's bright orange. What on earth is that? So they told us to stick with it, which is good because we weren't going to change it anyway. Yes, so where would we like to be in 5 years' time? It is a good question. I think, in all honesty, to us, it's a bit beyond our normal planning horizon. We tend to think maybe a year, a little bit longer ahead. We have ideas sometimes for long-term initiatives, and we have a few at the moment that we would probably like to do. So another edition of Burp Suite aimed at the developer space, probably a web-based scan as a service platform, so you can come and subscribe and be scanned without having to download and install the software. But some of our other initiatives like the Academy and certifications and the Daily Swig, we kind of thought about them for a while, but then only decided almost just in time, let's go ahead, now we're ready. I think we'll stay fairly firmly in web security, but that's such in itself such a rich landscape of things we can do and go after and spread out into. Over time, we've done more adjacent things. So I think we probably will do some others, and what exactly they are, we'll decide a bit as we go. But one thing I'm pretty confident of is that our growth trajectory in terms of the team and our people will be a fairly continuous evolution of where we are now. We've got an amazing, massive building. That was to give us headroom to grow into, because we didn't relish the upheaval of having to keep moving office every few years. But we're not expecting an explosion of numbers. That's partly because we want exceptional people, and there's only so many of them that we run into, and we're so protective of our culture, so it takes a while to absorb a new person into a team and make sure that they've landed well and have got our view of the world. So I'm expecting us to grow our capabilities in a fairly continuous way, do more things, do it as well as we possibly can, and almost more importantly than anything else, hold on to the amazing culture that we've got as we grow. So I think if you look now into any team of around 10 people, it looks and feels in itself more or less what PortSwigger looked like when the whole business was 10 people. So if we grow tenfold again, we might have 100 teams, but each one hopefully will look about the same as that if we've been successful. Don't be shy. Okay, well, that's the end of this session. The plan now is to get a drink and a snack. You can have a look around, explore the building. You can go and see where your child works, meet their friends, ask any other questions you might have. Thank you very much.